Hello, hello. Welcome again to another exciting episode of Amazing Entrepreneurs. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Today we have Randi Karpinia of Sagacity Legal. Show's title is called Protect Yourself. Protect yourself and your business. You're going to want to hear everything she has to say. Looking forward to it. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amazing Entrepreneurs. My name is Michael Riley, and I'm joined today with a dear friend of mine, Randi from Sagacity Legal. So I'm going to toss it over to you and tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and the work that you guys perform.
So Sagacity Legal is my joy and my ability to help others, help small businesses, help inventors, really smart people a lot smarter than me. And what we do is I like to say we protect your uniqueness. So whether that's patenting inventions, trademarking brands like Fabulous, OHMazing, or copywriting literature or podcasts even, we're there to make sure that that competitive edge that somebody has really doesn't get copied by others.
Yes, and in fairness, for our listeners, I had the pleasure of working with Sagacity and Randi and her team in trademarking OHMazing. So if you guys wanted OHMazing, you can't have it. It's too late. It's gone. So thanks to the fabulous services of Randi. And honestly, whenever we first initially met, you told me you were like, your product, your most important asset may be your brand. And so, you're an attorney. Were you always like an IP attorney, or is it something that like you kind of, when you were in attorney school, we were like, I'm going to be an IP guy or gal. Excuse me.
Yes, but I wasn't always an attorney. So
now
do you have a couple of days so I can tell my story now?
Yeah, well, no, that's what we're here.
Short version, Randi's professional career. So I actually, and I'm going to age myself as I talk about this, I actually started out in engineering.
Really?
So I have a master's in computer engineering, and I did that whole product design and management of big teams, and I worked outside the country, and just a really fabulous engineering career.
Wow. Okay, so you're super impressive, by the way, because it's like you went one direction at a high level, and you don't accidentally become an engineer, so you became that, you were working through that, and then you found IP was something that you're passionate about. So can you tell me a little bit about the transition from there to
Yeah, so it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We all change.
Right.
So during my engineering stints, so to speak, patents were always something we were always patenting. I actually am the inventor on 5 patents.
Oh, wow.
And so the patent world specifically at the beginning was something I was always interested in. So at a point in my life, I just decided to go to law school.
Okay.
So I like to say I was working full-time, going to law school full-time, and a single mother of 2 young children. So that's like my super mom for a short while. But I found, being in law school, I just found, this was my place. And then started my second career as what I like to say a paycheck attorney, in-house at a big corporation, which I did for a couple of decades, actually.
A paycheck attorney. What is that?
So there's entrepreneurs like us.
Okay.
And there's paycheck people. That's Randi.
Yeah,
That's the way I talk. And so, my whole career, much of my adult life was doing for others.
Right.
And I realized as I grew from patents to trademarks, copyrights, to helping businesses that we were acquiring. So the big behemoth company was acquiring these small businesses. I realized they didn't know IP. They didn't have their inventions protected. They didn't have their trademarks necessarily. And
so which one can I scalp? You just no, play.
So that was what kind of gave me that aha moment. That I said, you know what, I'm going to give it all up, and I'm going to start doing for these people and these businesses what I was doing for the big corporations.
Right.
And that is really how Sagacity was born.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, we were talking prior to it, and you told me sagacity is definition.
Yeah, so this could have been what Randi Karpinia LLP, or the
I
law
like
offices
that.
of Randi Karpinia, but of course I'm a trademark attorney at heart, and I wanted the name to mean something. So sagacity and being sagacious is being mindful and meaningful in your decision making. And what more would you want from an attorney?
I couldn't agree more. And I think that that kind of defines you as a person based on my interaction with you thus far. It's, you're talking about you're working for somebody, understanding, hey, I've kind of gone through these processes, or I've kind of gone through these stages of my professional development, to where I went from engineering to a mom, and, it felt like life wasn't crazy enough. So you decided to join law school. Right. And so, how'd you survive? We're obviously here now, but I mean, how was that? Would you recommend anybody to do law school while working a full-time job while having two toddlers?
Oh, why not?
That's
Anything after that is easy.
It's all downhill from. You know what? That's actually a great way to look at it.
Come on, we only have one life. We got to live it.
That, I very much agree with that, and finding, the mindfulness of like knowing, hey, we only have one life. Let's not waste the time that we have. And if you want something, pursue it. So, so I'm guessing, I don't want to date you too much, but like how far back, how long you been practicing?
So I've been practicing law over 2 decades.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were.
So yes, you just dated myself a lot.
Well, I mean,
I don't mind.
Well, and listeners, by the way, before the podcast, we were talking about how her daughter's off at college, and so I kind of knew a little bit based on like I put the pieces together. I'm in law school, and then she's in college, and that whole transition for you. So, you're an engineer at a firm, you got your law degree. And you passed the bar, and I'm guessing you stayed at the same firm? You just moved departments?
Yeah, so you call a firm, it's a corporation.
Corporation, okay.
Yes, and so I actually, if you're a patent attorney, which was my first specialty,
Okay.
you actually have to take 2 bars.
What?
Yeah. Not 1 test, but 2. So a patent attorney, by definition, is a member of some state bar. So for
Okay.
me, Florida bar.
Florida.
And then you have to take this thing called the patent bar.
Is that
It's
so?
not
It's like
fun.
the federal? Is that?
It's federal, yeah, because IP attorneys can work nationwide, whereas like a lot of state attorneys, if it's state specific, that's all.
Yeah, no, we've had the blessing of having a few of the arguers come on here. Well, when I say arguers, attorneys. Yeah, professional debaters right now. But they've been amazing. But the different aspects of law, and they're telling me, hey, I practice in Florida versus New York, or depends on where you were. I guess but patent lawyers, you can, as long as you pass the state and then you pass the federal level, you can basically file patents for anyone?
Yeah, I have patent clients throughout the country, and
Okay.
then with trademarks, I even have some international.
Really?
Because to file a trademark in the U.S., you have to use a U.S. attorney.
That makes sense. Okay. So to me, patent and trademarks very much like one and the same. And so I'm grossly mistaken there, huh?
They both are protecting your competitiveness.
Okay.
Trademarks, as you know, with OHMazing, protects your brand. It's your entity, your personality, your business personality.
Yes.
Right? You want that protected. You don't want somebody creating an OHMazing podcast that, people think is you. You don't want people to be confused and go to the wrong place.
They can never be confused.
No one would ever.
Well, once
Not
they
with
listen
the
to
bright
our
orange shirt.
no. Yeah, it's there. There's no confusion here. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
So anyway, the comparison is patents protect inventions.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more complicated,
Okay.
and you would say, yeah, but sliced bread was created. There's really nothing left to patent, but I think there's like 150 million worldwide patents. There's lots of things to patent.
Yeah, I was about to say multiple ways to slice. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I've got it. Like, you're like, there's 57 patents for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, however that is. So question on your kind of adventure in, you made a move from being an engineer, and what set the scene for me a little bit. Like when I know you have a lot going on, but like where was Randy at when she was like, I want to make that change? And talk with me about like that jumping off point where it's like, do you remember like that time, you're like, I'm going to do this.
So there's two, right? There's the engineering to law,
Okay.
and then there's corporate to entrepreneurship.
And I want to talk about both. So let's do that's a very valid point, because and I like that you're like, well, which one? Which one?
We have to change a lot in our lives.
Yeah, no, it's good because I'm sure there's a story behind both. So let's dive into, because people who are listening, maybe they're looking at changing fields, and it's like, hey, maybe they can identify with what you share. So
yeah, so being an engineer wasn't one of those. I always wanted to be an engineer when I grew up.
okay,
It was a career I fell into because a guidance counselor told me I was really good at math, and I could either do this thing called engineering or I could become an accountant. There's no way I wanted to be
you don't want to be
accountant.
a number cruncher, yeah.
Right. So
Probably would be more wealthy,
maybe know more about
Well,
finance.
right, but
So going into engineering, like, it wasn't a love, but it was something I was good at. And so there was always something in my head that said, I like this. I really enjoy creating things, but I really more enjoyed managing, supervising, seeing the end result. And like I said, we were very much patenting all of our phenomenal inventions, and that just made a huge difference to me. I love to write.
oh,
And
okay.
patents are really technical novels, so to speak, or technical short stories. So it was always something missing. Some people pick their career early on and they stay. For me, I wanted more, and I really was fascinated with the law, and specifically intellectual property.
Funny enough, kind of now that we've been talking about it, I can very much see how an engineer who is like a creator of things, or make stuff happen that isn't naturally occurring, and then being like, you know what, I want to get into the logistics of like defining that a little bit more and protecting that asset. So that's very, very cool. So you you're like, hey, this is not necessarily what I wanted to do. I was kind of guided here, and it's fine. It's kind of led me to a path of interest, but it's, that was it. You snapped a finger, thought it through, and then just kind of dove into. Do you go straight into your JD? Is that how it works when you have a master's?
Yeah. So you just need a 4-year degree of some sort to go to law school. No big
Okay.
deal. So yeah.
No big deal.
No big
No.
deal.
Whatever.
But and I loved law school, and I really do love being an attorney.
What did you love about law school?
The analysis, reading, seeing how, not that I'm a litigator, but seeing how different discrepancies, how the law defined them, just really was interesting. The debates, like you said,
Yeah.
attorneys are debaters.
They're professional arguers.
And I'm not a litigator. I'll be
Yeah.
full disclosure, I'm
Yeah.
not a litigator, so I
Yeah.
don't like disputes.
Yeah, I jokingly say that, like, because when you're growing up, or at least for me, and I tease all the attorneys that come on. I'm like, at what point in time when you got this did you realize that, hey, I argue for a living?
Yeah, I don't argue for a living.
Well, you either read contracts, write them, or in your case, it sounds like you file, or you creatively describe and protect your asset. And the better you are at using proper verbiage, I'm assuming the better the application, the more protected you are.
Yeah, and so what I like to say when someone comes to me, like a new client comes to me, one of the first things I say is, "I'm not a litigator, and my job is to keep you out of court."
Right. And in fairness,
Right?
she told me, now that you said that,
Did I
you,
tell you that?
I'm fairly confident you told me that because that sounds, I'm having deja vu. So, okay. So that was the decision going there. Tell me about your jump from corporate America to Sagacity.
Yeah, so there's some personal parts too that I'll leave out.
Okay.
But I came to a point in my life where I had to make some decisions. And one of them was life is short.
Uh-huh.
And did I want to keep doing all these phenomenal things for some, a big company to make
Yeah,
money?
big corporation, right.
Or did I want to do something that worked for me? And I'm very passionate about helping entrepreneurs, always had been.
Right.
And it was sort of like no market research, right? Let's just jump in and made the decision.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, just made the decision. And so what I didn't say is the firm is only a little over 4 years old.
Ah.
So I did this 4 years ago where I said, you know what, life's short. I want to do something different. I know I can help others. And then, and jumped right in. Didn't know the first thing about running a law firm or being an entrepreneur, but boy, have I learned fast.
How do you like it so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people who says, oh, I should have done this 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, one of my questions that I like to ask is, what would you tell yourself? You need to do this. What would you tell yourself?
Yeah,
10
exactly
years ago?
this.
Yeah.
I would have said, I should have done this.
It's
10
kind of an
years
adventure,
ago.
isn't it?
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about it, would you say?
So I tend to start, the people that come to me tend not to be the big companies. They tend to be someone who has a really good idea or a group of people who've gotten together and have a really great business idea. Typically, they're first in their field, or they just do it better than many or better than all.
That's what I tell myself.
Yes, just like you.
I'm not the
just
first
like
in the
you.
field, but dang it, I am the best. No.
Keep saying that. Yeah. But what I love is, especially the clients I've had for a while, the people I've been helping for a few years, watching them grow and watching them really be able to prove that they are first in the field as we go from, as an example, maybe one patent to a portfolio of patents and a portfolio of U.S. patents to a portfolio of international patents, global patents.
International. So how do you file? So do you file international patents for? Can you do that in America or without? I feel like this. We could talk like 10 hours on this.
Yeah. So the short version is there's a pathway into non-U.S. Patents. Same with non-U.S. trademarks, by the way, that my firm handles, and then I have contracted colleagues, firms in different countries. So when it gets to the point of a particular country, no, I can't prosecute a patent in Australia or UK or Mexico. So I use different firms that over the years were my firms. Many times I had a 20-year relationship from my previous life.
Nice. Which country is notorious? Which country outside of China is notorious for not respecting our patents or copyrights?
Oh gosh, I don't want to go there.
Fair enough. That was an aggressive question.
It was an aggressive question.
So we can cut that question, but what we can do is we can go into. So, what was some of the influencers on like? So I'm with you on like. I love watching. One of the gratitude or best parts about being an entrepreneur, we're in a service because you do IP law, we do IT, and so we get to see these people kind of grow. Like, it's almost like bloom, and it's like, hey, they start off somewhere, you see them, and you're like, dang, they're employing like a bunch of people. They're doing all sorts of cool things. So do you have anyone that's been like really influential on your own firm's growth?
So I wouldn't say one person, but I have a group, and that group grows and changes year after year. But what I found was surrounding myself with a network of other entrepreneurs like yourself. You don't have to be an attorney or a law firm owner. You don't have to be an IT corporation owner. You don't have to be, a mindset coach. all the things that go into being an entrepreneur parallel, no matter what your end result is. So I have a fabulous group of IP attorneys who own their own firms that are a big network support for me. And we talk things out. I give them, I tell them how I do things. They tell me how they do things. But even more importantly is my network that I've grown over the last few years of entrepreneurs. And just being able to talk things through that you haven't seen before and know that you're on the right path or modify. Right. And I like to say our firm is, and don't take this the wrong way, failing forward.
Yeah, no.
So we just constantly improving, like, Kaizen, constant improvement.
I'm a big, big proponent of failing forward because that, to me, is what makes or breaks. Like, you're either an entrepreneur and like, you need to learn how to embrace failure. That did not work. Well, let's try this instead. Yeah. That didn't work either. Let's try this instead. So that's me in marketing. So
yes, we're all in that boat.
Yeah, we're all in that same boat.
I am my marketing department.
Right. And speaking of which, guys, if you, and I'm gonna put in the show notes, Randi has a phenomenal, it's YouTube. I see your content on LinkedIn. I know that it's just top notch. So if you have any questions, no thanks. I mean, because I've watched some of it. There's a lot of people pushing out a lot of stuff, but yours is quality. You can tell that you've taken the time to really respect, and that's a whole business in of itself. So
it is.
Speaking of that, you like writing content? Is that kind of like more natural for you? You said you like writing.
So I've always loved to write.
Okay.
In fact, fun fact, in my engineering degree, I got a minor in creative writing. Silly, right? And so even a very long time ago, I really loved to write. So yeah, there's been a few times where I've brought someone in, to work for me to do some of my social media or my marketing writing, and it's not me. And I like to be authentic, and I know we could have a whole conversation on AI content that a lot of people are doing, but I really like my voice to come out. It comes very natural, and that's whether it's writing a script for a video on YouTube or writing a LinkedIn post. I just, some of my I wrote a post about a week ago in like 5 minutes, and it got like 4,000 impressions. Like, wow. It was just me. It was no big.
Well, speaking of AI, because it is kind of, you almost can't even believe some of the stuff that you see. My SEO guy, search engine optimization. If you're not familiar with it, entrepreneurs, we've got a couple different episodes on it. Check out Jonathan Daniele on LFG Media Group. He was the episode 13, but he talks specifically about SEO. And he contacted me this morning. He was like, so what, for blog posts, I'm getting hits that says that it was generated from ChatGPT. And I know a lot of people are doing that. And it's easy to start from ChatGPT and then kind of adjust some of the text there. But I think some of the concern there is it's not going to rank. So the quality that, that you're putting out isn't going away, Yeah. I wonder how that's going to impact schools. So are you doing any AI patents?
So I like to say I was doing machine learning before machine learning was cool.
Was that a cool thing? Yeah.
So I work with a number of clients who are doing, it's not ChatGPT like you think of.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's, more private, closed loop machine learning.
Yep.
People call it AI, that's fine.
Yeah.
And there's a real value to that optimization that you can get in a lot of areas. So I've seen some phenomenal inventions and portfolios that we've done in that arena for a number of years before people even heard the word AI.
Right.
But on the other hand, AI for us IP geeks is really concerning.
Yeah.
There's, when the internet, I always think of it like the internet. I can't tell you how many lectures and talks I've done on just because you can get it free off the internet doesn't mean it's free to use,
Yeah.
right? So people are copying, and then they're getting sued for copyright infringement or trademark infringement, whatever it might be. Well, AI adds this exponential layering,
Right.
because when you take something off of a ChatGPT or some other AI, you don't know for a fact that it's not someone else's.
Right.
And they will catch up with you.
So, what's your reaction to? Because I know specifically, I remember something about artists and people stealing art, or artists being like, "Hey, this machine, this model, right? This LLM has taken my work, consumed it, and is now using my work," and that was a problem, and understandably so. Do you have any just? I don't, maybe this is a poor question. Tell me. We can always say, you can always decline. But what's your stance on something like that? Like, do you see value where you see the argument that they have, or is that something that you um, really strive or really vibe with, or really be like, yeah, I totally understand, because like you created that. It's my job to protect you, and something is like has consumed it and is pushing it out. Um, do you hear any arguments there from that side, or have you personally talked to anybody that's been impacted by that?
Yes, I don't have a client right now who's been impacted specifically by like ChatGPT or AI,
Okay.
picking up their work. But my stance right now is the exact same stance I've had when it comes to anything on the internet.
Right.
You want to be, first of all, for those who are copying it or who are using
Yeah.
AI, I highly recommend authentic work.
Yes.
I always say it's better to have B plus work that you created than A plus work that you don't know where it came from or that you copied. And I still hold that when it comes to AI. And just as clients have come to me and found their work on the internet that someone else is using that we've protected, I always recommend that we defend that. And it will be the same. It's just like I said, it's like the internet, but on steroids.
Gotcha. And I recently got some tips from an influencer on how to make my videos better. So I'm not supposed to self-deprecate, but I'll do this. This is a C plus podcast. All right. So don't be copying my stuff,
There you go.
or Sagacity's coming after you. I got you. This is no, but this is a nice place to cut over to one of our friends. Eileen Rain, right?
Oh my gosh, fabulous, fabulous person.
Yeah, she was on the podcast, and so this is Eileen and Randy, and actually Kathy was on the podcast as well. So this is the last of I call them the three amigos, or the three friends, right? So I see them all the time networking together, and I said, let's definitely take the time to. She purchased a sponsorship, so we're going to talk about. Have you ever been tired of the endless job search? Are you struggling to get a response from recruiters? I know I have been before. Or are you feeling like your applications aren't generating calls? Executive recruiter and job search specialist Eileen Rain shares the inside secrets from the view of the recruiter in a revolutionary job getting, career building system, Pounding Pavement 101. Eileen teaches job seekers exactly how to market themselves with laser precision, exponentially increasing their chances of getting noticed and hired rapidly. Using the scientifically proven methodology in Pounding Pavement 101, job seekers are getting hired in 3 to 8 weeks at the dream jobs that they've been searching for on their own for 9 to 12 months, saving them thousands of dollars. Schedule some time with Eileen. By the way, another fantastic follow on LinkedIn at www.poundingpavement101.com. Again, that's Eileen Rain. You can find her on LinkedIn, excuse me, and her website is poundingpavement101.com. And it's the question. That's a strong brand, right?
Yes, and Eileen does own Pounding Pavement 101 trademark.
See, guys. It's good. Friends help friends, right? And by the way, and she also, on the flip side of it, and then we're going to cut back to this, but she also does recruiting as well. So if you guys, any entrepreneurs, you've been listening to our podcast and your business has grown exponentially, if you need some help recruiting, Eileen's one of the best in the business down here in South Florida. So,
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
um, so let's go. Let's go to. Tell me about. Because we've been talking. I want to get into patents and trademarks and copyrights and kind of like a high level difference from, so, a typical entrepreneur. Because like this is like until we had a conversation, I never even considered it. Or I knew what it was, but like. It's not something I ever spent any significant amount of time thinking about. But do you have like a story that you can share at some level? Because I know you got, or I'm assuming there's like, attorney-client privilege there, so you can't share a whole lot. But is there anything that like really sticks to your mind as a success story?
So I can, and you're right. So when we file a patent, it's a secret for 18 months before it's published. So I would never talk about like specifics of an invention.
Right. Yeah.
But some of my clients have been at it for a while and they're starting to market. And so I can talk about in general terms their systems because they're out there, selling and really hitting it. And so I think I'll talk about, I have a client, they came to me quite a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, 4 guys, professionals, brilliant in each of their individual fields.
Okay.
And one happens to be a surgeon, surgeon, inventor, and then the others one was engineer, marketing, sales, right?
Wow.
So 4 guys got together and had some brilliant ideas and just knew they were first in their field. They didn't know, exactly. We've never seen this. This is normally how an inventor gets an aha moment. They want something and they don't have it. It doesn't exist.
You're trying to buy it and it's like...
It doesn't exist,
yeah.
Right? And by the way, many of the inventors that come to me, especially first-time inventors, is because they needed something. I have moms. I have, non-engineers. I mean, just people who wanted something and they figured it out. So these guys I'm really proud of because we now at this point have a portfolio. How I talked about you started with one, and then you with them we actually started with a portfolio.
Wow.
And what they're doing, the one part I can tell you is they're optimizing the surgical operating room.
Okay.
Using an amazing VR machine learning platform.
Wow.
And so, again, they started with ideas that have grown to quite a portfolio of patents and now global, applications filed. So when I watch them, and they're very active on LinkedIn, so I can see where they are. They're in Nepal or they're in UK, and they're putting in these systems into the surgical rooms. And
That's
really,
amazing.
really making a difference.
Yeah. I was talking to an entrepreneur prior, and it was, hey, you are a difference maker. And so you do your clients in the world a service by protecting your business and ensuring that it's sustainable, protected, and something that you can use to grow from. Because otherwise, the world's going to miss out on some of the things that you may or may not be able to bring to the table. So, and surgeons, I feel like that's, hey, it's anything. I read a book one time, it's called The Checklist Manifesto, and it talked about the infection rate of surgeons or surgery going down like 70% because they have the questions that you ask whenever you come into, hey, a patient's name is this, and this, the checklist, and it's so mundane, but the fact that there's a checklist is brought down, like provides numbers as to the infection rate after the fact, which can be a big deal. So I'm excited to that you were able to build and work with them, huh?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, one of the things that people might not realize, and especially since we're talking about patents, when you get a patent, it's a contract with the government.
Okay.
You get 20 years of a monopoly.
Love monopolies.
And then, because you're required to enable that invention in the patent document, you're giving it to the world.
Wow.
So the example that people all know is, you'll have this brand prescription and then all of a sudden there's generics.
Yeah.
Generics are because the patent expired.
Yeah, so they just basically gave it to the world. And
Yeah, and so all of these phenomenal entrepreneurs, they are doing good with what they're creating, and they're being very successful. And then 20 years from now, they give it to the world.
Do you do any, speaking of, because that's another easy one to kind of jump into is like do you work with any life science companies, or have you ever worked with drug manufacturers or anything like that?
So that is not my specialty. My
Yeah.
specialty is software. So I do a lot of software telecommunications, electrical, mechanical, usually life science, chemistry, things like that. I do have people that work for me that
Sure.
are specialists, but personally, that's not my specialty.
Well, I know a great organization down here where it's a bunch of tech people. So,
Yeah, I do too.
yeah, you should definitely join us. So, so s- I was going to shift, but in reality, let's stay right here. So we talked a little bit about patents. So it's a contract between you and the government that says, "Hey, I have a monopoly on this," and then you also give it to the world. Is there any way to extend a patent, or is it typically 20 years? That's it.
Yeah, in fact, there's 3 times during that 20 years that you have to pay a renewal or it expires. So you have to know that you have to kind of pay to keep it. And the funny thing is the cost goes up. You think it would go down. The 11-year renewal is exorbitant compared to like the 3.5-year renewal. So you have to renew it, but after the 20 years, nope, that's part of the
That's it.
contract. It's
Okay.
done.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, you better come out with a different, but you can always patent something different, like that's along the
Typically.
same line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically.
Okay. Um, so what's the next probably iteration? Or, I mean, not iteration now, but we got copyrights, and then we also have what else? Trademarks.
So we talked a little bit about trademarks before. Trademarks are a little different that you just renew every 5 years and you
Okay.
can actually keep going.
Yeah.
And the reason, with trademarks, it makes sense why there's a renewal because if you stop using the brand, when you renew with patents, you pay. You just literally pay.
Okay.
With trademarks, you got to prove you're still using it.
Gotcha.
So every 5 years, you got to submit proof. Hey, I'm still running this podcast called Amazing Entrepreneurs. And if you can't or you're not, then it becomes free game for someone else to pick up that brand.
Yeah, nobody's stealing my 50 followers. No, I mean, if you're listening to it now, that's where we're at. But 5 years from now, you're gonna be like, man, I was there from the beginning. So I'm hoping we renew it. So, and if so, we're definitely using Sagacity. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. So, what about copyright?
Yeah, copyright is an area. So we've just basically gone budget wise in order. Patents are expensive.
Okay.
For a startup, it's going to take some budget. It's
Okay.
going to take some investment. Trademarks, a little bit more reasonable. You can fit it in the budget. Copyrights are even less expensive to actually file. And unlike trademarks and patents, as long as the application is correct, the copyright's going to grant, so it's easier to get. But copyrights are the most visible, especially in this digital world we're in, the most visible copying.
Okay.
So whether it's the podcast, whether it's this picture we're looking at of you in the
A
background.
strong picture. Strong. Awkward. I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at it, but awkward to have a picture of me, right?
Yeah, there you go. But really, copyrights is where you really have to be careful and you really have to protect yourself. I've had clients where their website got copied, where images of their client, how you have a gallery
Yeah.
with your client's product, you're in their home or whatever, and another company copied it. So because it's so easy to copy, something that's tangible, whether it be audio, visual, that's the area where people don't, they kind of fall short.
Gotcha.
So the minimum, you should be putting copyright notices on everything. You should be putting trademark notices on everything. But registering your valuable content is really important.
So what's the copyright note? Is that what like a DMC, what do they call them? DMC takedowns?
No. So, okay. So I'm going to use Randi's.
Okay.
I like to talk about no trespassing signs.
Okay.
Okay. So when you create something
Okay.
in the copyright world, you automatically own it.
Okay.
right? That's how copyright law works. The originator is the owner of that copyright.
So I don't need to file something.
Except, there's always an except.
They,
Except
it's law. So I mean, what do you expect?
if you don't register it and somebody copies and you sue them, then you don't get attorney's fees. Oh, those darn attorney's fees. And you have to prove actual damages. So you have to prove that subscriber of your podcast would have given you $100,000 in advertising, but instead they went to somebody else, and that somebody else used your material, but it's not you, and now you've got to prove that, right? Or you get nothing. But if you register the copyright, all you have to prove is they copied, and there's statutory damages. Huge difference, right? Huge difference.
Yeah.
So that's, from a value standpoint, of course, the IP geek is going to say you should register everything. But from a value standpoint, protecting the things that would most be copied, whether it's an invention with a patent, a brand with trademark, or your tangible media with copyrights, it's so much easier to take care of infringers and copiers if you have the registration.
Right. And so I know you said you don't litigate, but I'm assuming that you have, whenever it's time to bark or bite, you have a squad that is able to, you can call on the boys or the firm. The boys is not, scratch that. Scratch that. You can call on the team.
The experts, the team.
The team.
Yeah, so I tippy-toe right up until litigation.
Okay.
So what that means is if someone gets a cease and desist, so they're the ones being accused, I'll take care of them. Many times, especially in the patent world, a cease and desist will say you're infringing and the product isn't. So we'll do that infringement analysis, and prove that it's not. Or we'll negotiate a settlement if you really did copy that photo.
Right.
And there are firms out there who that's what they do, is they come after people for copying. So we'll help at the beginning. If it becomes a true court case, yes, I have a team of firms that I work with that I would then refer to. I don't step into court. It's not my way.
Yeah, it's, look, I get it. So
sorry, this is falling.
No worries. No worries. So I kind of want to go back to the AI. Like, how does that impact? I mean, I feel like OpenAI has to have like 1,000 attorneys, because like I feel like they would have to be just inundated with suits.
Yeah, and we could talk AI for hours and hours, right? So let's do the really high level. So the first thing is, for someone like me who's working with people who are new to their business, new to their field, or brand new inventions, putting that information out into an AI system, like I want to write this. I don't like this, but there's probably people doing this. I'm going to write my own patent application. I'm going to have ChatGPT help me. I'll put in my invention, and they'll help me write it, because it's like a 30-page, right?
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, number one. But more importantly, when you put information into the AI systems, you've basically lost all confidentiality.
Yeah, because it consumes it.
Yeah. So as an attorney, when I hear of attorneys writing contracts or doing anything, so if you just want to research, using AI before you've actually protected your invention, or whatever it might be, even your trademarks, the caution is you lose confidentiality. You've just given it up. If you have something you want to keep as a trade secret, forget it. If you've put it into AI, you're done.
Yeah.
So that's my first concern. Like, from just keep your stuff out of just like keeping it off the internet. You want to keep it to yourself. The other thing I wanted to mention in that realm is AI hallucinations. And I've had a lot of clients come to me with information that they've gotten through a ChatGPT or another AI system. And you know what a hallucination, I'm sure you do, is it's not true.
What is that? Oh, wait.
You don't,
I thought.
I presume you know what I mean when
I thought
I
it
say
was a
it.
slight. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
definitely
no.
seeing things all the time. So
Yeah.
no play. Yeah, yeah.
So people think that they're developing, that this is fact, and the AI is lying. AI is giving them something that looks factual because you've put something into it, and the AI feels obligated, like a kid. I've got to give you a result.
Yeah.
So using AI, alone worries me. And then we already talked about the copying aspect. Both, are you copying someone and you don't know it, or is someone else copying you? It's like, again, we talked about it's the internet on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then the last thing, just so we totally cover AI, is the courts have already looked, and the courts have found that an AI cannot be a patent inventor, and the AI cannot be a copyrighted artist. So the courts already, until the laws change, say there has to be a human being in the creation.
Have you seen that AI that is actually an influencer now? It's got like a sponsorship by BMW.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it looks like a real. It's not though. It's not a. It's a completely. Maybe they're just calling it an AI, but it's a brand, and it basically got a sponsorship. So like, I'm interested to see how like some of that stuff like kind of plays out, and I'm sure. Sounds like the law is going to be heatedly debated, and I'm sure you've got a lot of learning. Or I mean, we all do over the course of the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, we all do.
Is there any other things outside of like any market trends or anything that like you see in the IP or copyright law or in the next 5 years where you find interesting?
So the other area we didn't talk, AI is kind of the hot topic these
Right.
days. A year ago, we would have been talking about NFTs. Right,
yes.
and that digital world, and there has been so whereas AI lawsuits haven't, they're tippy toeing right now. We'll be seeing them. A year ago, the NFT lawsuits were going crazy.
Right.
The huge brands like Nike and some of the like Hermes was one, the pocketbooks. Where NFT creators are saying, no, I can use these brands or I can use these images because it's NFT, it's not a physical product.
Yeah.
And so that's another area where the IP law has, is finding its way. I think as technology develops, the law has to develop.
Right.
And there's always going to be copiers.
Yeah, yeah. The knockoffs, the generics. So that is very interesting because I remember the NFT. I could see how that. Oh, what a headache that might be. Or some of them, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're doing this. But so for your typical, it's our user base. We're entrepreneurs. So what would you say to an entrepreneur like myself on like, when is it time to start considering, what should I be thinking about? Why should I be thinking about it? Which one, how do I start? Like, what is your response to something like that?
Yeah, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs, startups especially, say, oh, I don't have to worry about this legal stuff yet. I'll have a financial plan, I'll have a marketing plan, but they won't have an IP plan. Well, that just doesn't feel like it's needed. It's not something people talk about. But in reality, every entrepreneur from the moment that they're forming their company and coming up with a company name should be thinking about IP. And what's nice about this arena is there's DIY stuff that you can do with the help and guidance of an attorney. I'm not saying go out on the internet and do things yourself. That never works. But having the knowledge and having someone to guide you at the beginning is really important because there's a lot of things, like I said, the no trespassing signs. You can, before you register your trademark, you can put a TM, right? That's a no trespassing sign for your brand saying, hey, everybody,
What's the difference between TM and R?
So R you can only use when you're registered. It's that special seal of approval from the government.
Okay. So we're not quite an R, but you know what? We're a TM for sure.
You're a TM, and actually you can be a TM from the moment you came up with even before we chatted.
How long does the whole process take? So for like what? So I know you do patents, trademarks, and do you do
Yeah.
copyright as well?
Yeah.
Well, is it same speed patents along as copyright, and then or no patent, trademark, then copyright?
Yeah. So, and there's a huge difference.
Okay.
So, copyright registration is like a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, I'm seeing, from filing the application. Very fast.
Okay.
Typically, it's the least expensive, and any interaction with the examiners is typically something I just handle by an email or a phone call. So
Okay.
very reasonable, very quick. I'll give a client example
Okay.
in copyrights because you talked about Eileen Ryan's Pounding Pavement 101.
Okay.
She has a video training program. And
Oh.
by the way, that entire program, every video is copyright registered.
Nice.
Yes, we did that. So that's an example of a really good way, a huge value in what she does. She doesn't want the competitors to get it.
No.
So that's very quick. Trademarks have slowed down with COVID,
Okay.
and they have not speeded back up. So right now, before COVID, trademark registration, at least first office action, like 69% of all trademarks get an office action, like 6 months. Now,
What's an office action?
oh, a rejection.
Ah.
Why you need an attorney to help you?
Oh, there's
just
no
in
doubt.
case.
No, here's the thing. People, if you're not like, this is so important. Like, there's some things that, like, hey, I can get by with it. Like, why would you risk that? You know, why would you risk, like, doing something yourself, especially if you're going through the process of doing that to protect yourself, and not have somebody who fully understands it?
Yeah, exactly. But that's another conversation.
That's
We won't
crazy.
go there.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be negative, but to me, that's like that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're playing with fire, playing with fire. You know, but so
anyway, trademarks are taking like a year before an examiner even touches it.
Really?
You just wait and you wait and you wait.
okay,
10 months to a year. There's like 11,000 trademark examiners. I
Okay.
guess there's a lot of trademark applications.
okay,
Patents, if you go the regular cycle, averaging 2 years. 2
oh,
years to an office action. 83% of all patent applications get at least one office action. So, you're talking about 2 to 3 years to get a granted patent, a year and a half to get a registered trademark, but just a
Wow.
few months for a copyright.
okay. Well, again, we're well on our way, folks. So if you try now, you're too slow. So, this was great information. And so, basically, as soon as you're considering, hey, I've got a brand or I've got a product, contact immediately.
Yeah, even if it's a conversation that gives you some to-dos,
Uh-huh.
and then budgeting.
Right.
The good thing is many IP firms, including my own, we do fixed fees.
Okay.
So you budget for it.
Right.
Maybe you can't afford that trademark now. Maybe you can't afford that full patent now, but there are things you can do that are less expensive
Gotcha.
that can get you started, and an attorney can help you with that, and putting it in your plan, because if you're going to be a success, protecting that success has to be part of your plan.
Question, is art copyright or is it a patent?
Art is copyright,
Okay.
with the caveat that I actually have an artist as a patent client right now
Oh.
because she created an inventive way to do art.
Ah, interesting. So I thought it was copy. The brand is your trademark's going to be the brand of it. So if it's amazing art, right? So there is no amazing art, but if it was amazing art, that would be the copy the trademark,
Trademark.
and then I would copy my pieces underneath.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Interesting. See, learn something new every day, and I hope you guys did as well. Question, is there anything specifically that we haven't covered that you would like to share that you feel would be beneficial to an entrepreneur?
Oh gosh, that could take a long time.
Fair enough.
Don't be risk averse,
Okay.
I think, is what I would say. If you're going to make a name for yourself and really make a difference, which most entrepreneurs, if not all,
They want to.
are
That's
there
why
to
they're
make a
there.
difference in
Yeah.
their field, then take risks
Right.
and protect that uniqueness.
Agreed. Well, this has been enlightening. I very much, this is, I've learned something new for myself, for the company. Again, Randy from Sagacity. So I always want to mess it because but I go back to my Tennessee draw, and it's a lovely name, a lovely person, and excellent. To the question, whenever people are coming out to, like, if they need to ask you something about, like, how do they get in contact with you?
Oh gosh, I make it really easy. Go to meetwithrandy.com and schedule on my calendar. Can't get any easier than that.
Randy with an I, by the way.
Randy with an I.
And I'm gonna have all the all of Randy's information in the show notes. So she gave me a plethora of ways to get in touch with her. If you, for whatever reason, can't get in touch with me, I will happily connect you with her. So, thank you so much again for your time coming out on this show. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody found this enlightening, and let me know if you have any questions. So, again, Randy with Sagacity Legal, and we will be seeing you guys again soon. Again, my name is Michael Riley with Amazing Tech, and it was a lovely day. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you so much. Bye.